Are live once again, episode number 88 with Paul Banasiak, Muay Thai athlete, and Sean Fagan from Muay Thai Guy. We do have a third person on the line today. Once again, it is really exciting to be having these guests on live, especially of such high profile. We have Thiago Azeredo. I hope I said that right.
Good.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, the head of the USMTO. We're really excited because it is an exciting time to be a Nak Muay and to be a part of the Muay Thai community. There's only things that are going and growing in our sport when it comes to tournaments, when it comes to promotions, different shows. There's international opportunities for fighters and even amateur fighters to be a part of the team on Team USA and other international teams. People are taking it a lot more seriously. And for the first time, it feels like we're finally becoming a unified sport. So I think with that being in place, having that unified foundation in place, we'll be able to sell the sport a lot more. I just want to know how you guys are doing today.
Doing awesome, man. Like you said, it is the best time to be involved in Muay Thai as an athlete or as anything. Pretty exciting time. There's a lot of changes being made for the better, and I think, if any, these kids out there now that are just starting with the sport are going to be a beneficiary of that.
Yeah, the kids, like I just went to your tournament a couple weekends ago, and just seeing the skill level of the kids at such a young age is horrifying. And I wish I could have started at that age, but it is really exciting just to see everything growing, relatively quickly too, and it is thanks to tournaments like that and just the growth of the youth Muay Thai scene. So yeah, before we get into the deep discussion of everything going on, why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit more, share a little bit about your background in Muay Thai, how you got involved with the USMTO and everything between there.
So I actually started with Taekwondo at 6 years old. I trained quite a bit. I was very competitive, compete almost every week or 2 weeks. Back then it was very, it just had become Olympic, and that's why I kind of got started with Taekwondo, because I wanted to be in the Olympics. I want to be part of that. And got to a very high level. I was training sometimes 4 or 5 hours a day as a kid. And then things got very political with the Olympics being involved, and it actually started to deter me from the sport. Even though I still have love for Taekwondo, there's a lot of political things that, as a matter of fact, I'm watching out for the inclusion for Muay Thai, make sure that doesn't happen. What happened in Taekwondo. I still talk to people in the Taekwondo community, in the Olympic Taekwondo community, and they're very upset about certain things that are going on. I think, like that's very important to be included properly into the Olympics so that the authenticity is still there and all that. But anyway, at about 13, I started training with Aziz out of Queens, and I used to teach Taekwondo, and then I used to train with him every single day out there, and that was an amazing experience. I finally was able to. I finally had to move to Arizona. I got into Arizona State, and I had to leave Aziz and everybody, and it was bittersweet. Even though, but I started teaching out here just because I didn't really find a gym I liked. So I started teaching on the side while I was in college, studying sports medicine, and I had a couple business. I had a ice cream truck, a chain of ice cream trucks, and that was my first business in college. And I started learning about business and how to do things, and that's kind of how I paid my bills. Got basically a full ride to Arizona State, and when I was done with college, I sold the trucks. I sold the truck and I opened my business, my gym, and that was my seed money. And then from there, you have Seton Gym, Arizona, and we started blowing up. And obviously, with the help of Aziz and everything he's taught me, we started developing a fight team. And what I did have is quite a bit. I had a pretty strong kids program. And these kids had nowhere to compete. Like, they had nowhere to fight. And I would get very frustrated because we had to travel all over the place and it was very expensive. So, about 5-6 years ago, I tapped one of my students. He's really good, really, good at marketing. He's pretty much an all around knowledgeable person. He knows pretty much a lot about everything. And I told him that I wanted to start a production company geared to kids. And so Science Fight Production was born. And then I included also Ryan, my best friend from high school. He's still out of New York, Ryan Burnett. And that's how the company was started. And we started doing a very high level Muay Thai show for kids. And it blew up and it grew. And as the company started growing, we started seeing the need for a tournament. And so that's, once I got back from Malaysia, I was the head coach for the Malaysian team, USMF. I saw a very strong need for support for the USMF. And so that's where we're at. Now we have the USMTO, we have all these different things that we're doing. And so we'll dive deeper into that in a minute.
It's just insane to see the number of gyms and people that have come from the tutelage of Aziz and the whole Sitsong Pinong family all the way back to Thailand. There's, Estevez Muay Thai and, what is now Rebel Muay Thai and then Sitan in New York and Long Island and Arizona, all these different gyms. Just, it shows how one person can just make such a huge difference. And once the momentum, starts going, I'm sure down lower on the tier, the students of those students are going to open up their own gyms as well, and they're going to be competing. I mean, they're all such huge families. Yeah, you see Rami come in at the USMTOs with 40 people and mattresses, and they're camping out there in tents, and you see the team atmosphere really, really growing. And you've had your foot in the door when it comes to, I think, a lot of different things. So maybe that gives you a lot more perspective. I mean, owning an ice cream truck, when you look at your even Facebook profile, there are just so many different things. You're invested in a prep company, like a meal prep company with the USMTO, with the youth development, with the USMF. Now, man, so many questions just even from the beginning.
I'll tell you, I'm the type of person that if I see a necessity, my number one pet peeve are people complaining and doing nothing about it. And so, like, people that complain to me about stuff, like, it's good, it's okay, complain to me or tell me like what the issue is, or come to my face and so we can work things out. And I'm always open to criticism. I invite it almost. That's 101 in business. You should always invite criticism, constructive, obviously. But these people that sit there and complain about stuff and they really don't want to do anything about it. Then I feel like they deserve it. Like, if you don't want to fix the problem, or if you don't want to do anything about it or help somebody fix it, then you kind of get, that's what you get, And so, like, whenever if I see my fighters, they need meal prep and they need something, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to open a company that's going to do meal prep. Like, if I see that there's a need for a tournament in New York and nobody's competing, I'm not going to sit there and bitch about it. I'm just going to do talk to my partners. How can we get this done?
How old are you?
I'll do it. 33.
33. Looking young, vibrant. That's good,
33
man.
Is young, bro. Oh, what are you talking about? You're 25 years old, you fuck. So
I look older than, that's what I'm saying, is I look older than he does. People think I'm older than 30, and it's kind of sad.
It's the ball,
we have a similar look going on too. Damn.
Right? We do have a similar look.
So when it came to developing the USMTO, how did you seek out when it came to partners, to getting any kind of advice, just getting it up and running? And then how far has it come since then? How long has it been since you had the idea and then put it into implementation?
So I forgot the year. When the US team was in Malaysia, I think it was 2014. I forget. It was when we went to Malaysia. And there was basically, it was not the best experience. I was kind of deflated by the experience. I've been to IFMAs before, 2009. I think I went to one, and so I've been to IFMAs, but I was just bummed out at the lack of support there was for USMF, especially with it being on the roster for Olympic inclusion. And I mean, it was there, and I was like, wow, how can people not know about this? And I remember in 2009, I was super surprised at how big this tournament was, and that it even existed. And so, when I got back, the experience wasn't great. I felt like we needed support. I felt like the best athletes didn't even know that this existed. And so I sat down with who at the time was Cheryl was president, and I said that I wanted to create a tournament that was a qualifier for the US for the USMF team, and I wanted to do it IFMA rules. I wanted to do it everything. And so our first USMTO was 3 years ago, and we had everybody wear chest gear, and it was full IFMA rules. It wasn't easy work with the USMTA to kind of get the rules approved, and we're really proud of what we've been able to accomplish. But it's still I think we had 100 athletes show up, because everybody complained about chest gear, and it was a really silly argument, I think. But fight's a fight, in my opinion. We got it started that way, and we were able to kind of create, at the very least, a lot of buzz about the USMF through that tournament. A lot of people were very unaware of the chest gear and the IFMA rules and things like that, and so it was pretty amazing to actually have that, to pull it off, the first one. And so we were at the next team was the 25th. I think it was in Thailand. After that, we got so many people interested and involved that there was like a huge team, and I think it was one of the most successful U.S. teams in history. I think they had the most wins than any other team ever had in the past. And so I think, there's a lot to attribute to that. A lot of people were involved in that, but I think creating that buzz and getting people involved, I think a lot of people want to be part of it. And that was kind of the start of where we're at today, in my opinion.
So obviously there's a lot of work and behind the scenes thing that goes into creating the USMTO tournaments and all that kind of stuff. When you first started out on this venture, what were some of the surprising things that kind of deterred you a little bit, like kind of just threw you off that you weren't expecting, and how did you overcome those things when it came to actually making it a legitimate sanctioning body and tournament?
Just so we're clear, the USMTO is not a sanctioning body. I just want to make that very clear.
Oh yeah, there you go.
We are a promotion. I feel like, we promote, and I think there's sanctioning bodies that we work with, like USMTA. We're willing to work with any sanctioning body that'll do the job properly, and that'll also allow us to incorporate the rules that we set forth as far as the IFMA, as close as possible as we can to IFMA. But as far as things that surprised me, that I don't think I'm trying to think. It's a good question, but I don't think there was much that surprised me. I've been so many tournaments and so many things. I remember it being extremely difficult. It's still very difficult. The stuff that was very tough was like, I think just people just bagging on your work. You know what I mean? I think and that's what I was saying before. I was like, if you, like, so much work has been put into it, and sometimes we'll even just barely scrape by financially, and and I don't think they really appreciate how difficult it is to put on these events. And I always tell people, if you don't like it, really, I invite you to do your own tournament. I will show up. I will show up and I'll support. I'll bring a team, all of that stuff. It's not as easy as it looks. But if you come to me in a respectful way, if you have an issue, you come to me in a respectful way and you voice it. I always I'll always support. You know what I mean? Like I'll always I'll always listen and try to do the best that I can to explain my point of view and try to make it better for that athlete. You know, because it's not easy. You know, I know it's expensive. I know it's tough, especially you go to especially go to competitions and stuff. You spend tons of money, and then somebody pulls out, and it's really tough. You know, it's a lot of risk involved, and so I will sit there. I will listen to anybody, you know, that needs help and stuff, because I know it's really tough. I've been in those positions, so I want to make sure that I'm there for them. So.
Being on the East Coast version of the tournament, I haven't been to the West Coast myself, but having it for the first time here in New York, I think it was very successful. Being able to see the ratio of the complaints versus the good feedback. The good feedback was very, very high, because I've been to other tournaments where it was either one way or another. You know, we always try to be really honest and straightforward on the podcast. So we've been to, let's say, the WKs. That was the major tournament on the East Coast, because that was the biggest tournament here. It would get up to 500 competitors. And, you know, you want to go to the one that's the most competitive. And 1 year it would be really amazing. Then the next year, if the venue switched, then things were off. They had a new system. The ratio of complaints was much higher than the good things that were being said about it. And for it to be the first year here on the East Coast in New York, I think it was a huge success. Of course, there'll be like one or two people, because there's emotion.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you too about there was, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I did want to talk about the medicals, and I wanted to tell people that, you know, it was pretty rough, and I totally understand. A lot of people got very upset about the medicals, and it was warranted. It was fair that they got upset. There was some medicals imposed on us by the New York State Athletic Commission that we did not expect. I think they were a bit freaked out with the numbers we were getting, and so they started imposing more and more. And we weren't. I was like, guys, you know, like this is not fair to the athletes. You know, we're gonna throw these medicals at them with 3-4 weeks notice. And so, like, we really had no choice. And I formally apologized to the athletes and coaches and parents for that, because, you know, I definitely didn't expect for them to do that. I thought it was going to be standard, you know, physical and stuff like that, but they started adding more things. And so we're at the whim. We're at the whim of the commission, you know, and so moving forward, that was one of the issues. As a matter of fact, when I talked to the head commissioner, she said that the medical board wanted us to bring in 15 doctors. 15. That's not a joke. She was like, well, you know, I talked them down from 15 doctors to 4. And I'm like, do you know that like hospitals don't usually have 15 doctors? Like, what do you think this is? Fighting with knives? You know, like, you know, very safe. You know, our track record, we've never had a claim. You know, we've never had an ambulance ride and all these things. And I'm like, you're going to look at our track record with, you know, 700 plus fights in 3 years. And you're going to tell me we need 15 doctors. And so we had to, like, it was a lot of negotiating behind the tables, you know, and trying to work out something that's more reasonable, that we are not going to, like, go bankrupt, right? And so, you know, but that's fair, but something that's fair, that's, you know, we want to make sure that the fight is, you know, the fighters are safe, you know, the athletes are safe, and they have the proper insurance and protection, so that they can compete and not worry about stuff, you know. So some of the stuff was just outrageous. I don't think I had a tournament like that. The boxing commission was it's, from what I understand, new commissioner, a new set of people, a new medical board, and so they really had absolutely no idea what a tournament like this entails. So it was like an education process, but formally, like, apologize for that medical stuff, and I don't think that's ever going to happen again. I'm very aware of how to handle those things now. So that was a surprise, a big one for me.
There you go. We found a surprise.
Yeah,
that was a
I think people realize that, you know, it's out of your guys' hands. I think it was pretty well explained, and we have to go by what the New York Commission does. I mean, a lot of people have had issues. UFC fighters, my manager always talks about how a lot of his MMA guys always have issues when it comes to them even being able to make money on a fight after all the medicals are done and things like that. So what I was going to say is that I believe that, you know, at an event where so many people invest a lot of their time, the coaches see their fighters invest that many hours into their training, the money and things like that. You know, when someone loses and it's according to the judges or because of a referee or something like that, people are going to always be emotional. So it's just part of the business. And I think despite all that, there was very, very few events during the USMTOs where any of that really took place. There was one referee that some people talked about. Once again, that, you know, those are all assigned, you know, so that's amazing to see that kind of feedback from such a huge event. So just transitioning into those that won. Now, the people that have won, do they have a chance to be on the team? What considerations do you look at? I know everyone has a profile now, which I love that everyone has a profile where you can add your fights and things like that. What are the considerations? What are the prerequisites? And what are you guys looking for when it comes to the amateurs? And then finally, if you can follow up for the pros that are looking to fight A class, let's say.
Yeah, so we actually just had a meeting about this on Friday to discuss preliminaries on how to do it. But the idea is to make a ranking system. So every time you compete in a USMF sanctioned or USMF approved event, a tournament, and that, you know, we're working with, we want to work with all the tournaments. Obviously WKAs, IKF, TBAs. I want to make sure, but, you know, I want to also make sure that it is consistent with the IFMA rules and with the IFMA standards. So those things, and I speak as a representative for USMF as well. So I'm a part of the USMF as well. So, you know, when I say we as a representative of the USMF, not the USMTO. USMTO is completely separate. But you know, and so this ranking system will put you in a position where we would watch the top ranking athletes in the US. So, and then from there we can decide through a committee of a selection committee who's going to be on the team, you know, considering obviously success in past, you know, someone like Janet Todd would probably get, you know, a higher chance of being on the team because she's fought in the World Games, she's fought in the IFMAs quite a bit, she's medal gold, you know, she's doing really well. And so like this would rank her much higher than another athlete that's coming up. So the winners wouldn't receive automatic inclusion to the team, but it would basically put them up there as where it would get first dibs or something like that. That has to depend on the committee, and there's a whole process by which that goes about.
So moving forward, just with the IFMAs and the inclusion of all the rules with the USMTOs and trying to get all the same type of rules, when we move to trying to get Muay Thai to the Olympics, what type of changes do you see being made, if any, from IFMAs to the Olympics?
Okay, so currently IFMA has received recognition from the IOC, and so we've gotten provisional recognition, which is a big deal. It's one of the first steps into becoming an Olympic sport, and so from that point, the national federations can actually start applying for their national inclusion. So, for example, we are putting an application now with the USOC, and with that inclusion to the USOC, we start to work on USMF becoming a sanctioning body, and being able to actually host events nationally under the USOC. And so it starts to grow, and we're able to implement IFMA and Olympic Muay Thai rules all over the U.S. and start to actually unify everybody under the USMF flag. And that's something some people are maybe a little bit threatened by. But what I tell those people, especially other sanctioning bodies and things like that, and what I tell those people is that everybody will be able to exist. These entities are not going to put anybody out of business or anybody don't get upset. We're trying to unify it so that everybody gets everybody understands what the rules are. I think is what the big issue is.
Hopefully the pie can just be bigger, a bigger piece for everyone to consume in a way.
The parallel is the Taekwondo, right? And that's the experience I had is when Taekwondo became Olympic, it just exploded in the US. It exploded to the point where, it was gyms that, these people didn't even know what they were doing. But, it exploded. And the good studios did very, very well. The ones that knew what they were doing, the athletes, producing athletes, all of a sudden you have Olympic athletes. Guess where everybody wants to train? Everybody wants to train where you have Olympians. I want to train with the gold medalist, for Taekwondo, so they're going to go there. And so that's one of the reasons I went into Taekwondo, because I want to be in the Olympics, and so I feel like that's going to be, everybody's going to benefit from Muay Thai being in the Olympics, because not everybody wants to be an Olympian.
So what were some of the mistakes that you saw be made that you spoke upon earlier in Taekwondo going into the Olympics, and what are you looking to avoid when it comes to Muay Thai?
Good question. So I spoke to a man named Manny Perez. He's the first Olympic gold medalist with USA Taekwondo. He's the first American Olympic gold medalist, and now he's on the board with the Olympic Committee and all these things. And what happened was a lot of people in the leadership really had absolutely no idea what Taekwondo was. They never even threw a kick, didn't understand the sport, and they were just kind of businessmen, and they really just never competed and never understood anything, right? And so they were just kind of focused on the money, and it kind of ruined the sport. And if like what you see now, and when I watch Taekwondo, and and what I was part of when I was a kid, Taekwondo was as brutal as Muay Thai. You get knocked out on a regular basis. It was heavy. The punches, the kicks, it was hard stuff. And the Taekwondo now, and the Taekwondo I'm seeing in the Olympics, these athletes are very good, and there's some old school guys that are pretty tough, but it's more like what's coming up is not something that I'm really enjoying watching. It used to be a fight. Now it's just kind of like tag. And so
are you worried about Muay Thai becoming that then? Because are you worried about Muay Thai becoming kind of watered down like that, and McDojos opening up and
remains the way it is? I don't think it will be. I think people are very concerned with authenticity and and that's I think something that IFMA is doing very well, is that they're keeping the round Muay, they're keeping all the traditions. They're also keeping very good scoring. I think the scoring is very good when we go to IFMA, and also very transparent, which is a very big deal. That you actually know who scores what. There's a lot of transparency, and I always love that about the IFMA thing, is that they we don't it should be still, it's still a fight sport. You're trying to damage your opponent. You're not trying to just tag them. You're trying to hurt them, and that should count for something. And I think that's something that's still that's still in the rule set, and I think that should remain that way. If the leadership stays where they are, I think it will continue that way. We had a pretty dark history in the past with USMF, and I think with the new leadership now, I think we're moving very fast in the right direction. That's how I feel.
So moving very fast, speaking of that, how close are we to making it realistic for 2024 for Muay Thai to be in the Olympics? Is there talks of it? Is there a possibility? Is it going to be another 4 years?
That is I don't know, maybe in the next 10. it's very tough to kind of know, but I would say that I mean, it's going to be in our lifetime for sure. I think within the next 10 years, but obviously I want it to be very quickly. The first step is really getting the national, the IOC, the USOC to recognize, and all these things, and all these other bodies to start getting recognized. And then we have to develop this software to show that we have comparable amount of athletes in every country. And so that's why we're starting to work. Myself personally have been working with Brandon, Ryan, and Chase, and everybody with the USMF to develop a database with a company called R Sports that has been contracted by IFMA to be the database for all Muay Thai athletes around the world. And so the launch was, and I don't know if people really understand how historic the USMTO New York was, but that was literally the launch of the national, and then the entire world was watching that ranking system work. The live scoring, everything, because it's from that point on is going to be implemented everywhere. And that's where we want to start, is to show how many athletes there are, in each country in the world, to show the IOC that, look, this is a bona fide martial art. It's been practiced all over the world. There's certain countries that have thousands and thousands of athletes registered already in their own database that they're going to be transferring over to the R Sports platform. So
speaking of that, the sport being world recognized, and there are a lot of athletes that are part of the national teams, some of them having incentives, some of them having sponsorships to cover their travels and things like that. I know that is some of the limiting factor of keeping the best athletes on the team. Is there any kind of vision for helping out the athletes and the expenses of going to the World Games?
Yeah, I mean, my personal goal is to have within the next couple, and I've told Chase this, is my personal goal is to get enough funding that, eventually the U.S. team will be completely funded by the USMF. So if you get inclusion to the U.S. team, USMF should take care of everything. That's how I feel. If you're an Olympic team, right, the USOC will take care of it. And so with the USOC recognition, I think, you start getting a little bit of funding, and we'll be able to start helping out. So, because sometimes, the best athlete can't afford to go, and that's unfortunate. And you want to make sure that doesn't happen. And so with programs like YDL and judge referee courses, and even our tournament, we've raised quite a bit of money for the USMF. When you become a member of the USMF, that those funds go to IFMA and to the USMF. And that's, we're working towards being able to help out with expenses. As of right now, it's not much, but eventually all athletes will become USMF members. It's $20 a year. It's not much. But when register your gym so that you're on the database, and you're able to register athletes under your gym name, and then you can start competing in different places. And we have different programs where you can rank. Your gym will be ranked, so every time you compete, when your athletes do well, you'll be ranked, which is the top gym in the country. Doing different programs to raise money and also to support the U.S. athletes going overseas to compete. So
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
just like all the groundbreaking stuff that you have with the live scoring, the database of fighters, the gym rankings and everything. I mean, when you first started out, you obviously had to have some type of drive or vision for this whole thing, right? But was it how similar is the vision that you had when you first started the USMTO to what it is now? And is it going in the right direction? And what is your ultimate goal for this whole endeavor?
I mean, the ultimate goal, my vision was it's coming slowly to fruition, is seeing, not just my tournament, but all the tournaments are growing. TBA had this massive amount of athletes last year. I think they broke records. We're growing year on year. Every tournament's bigger than the next, and so the ultimate goal is for everybody to succeed, and Muay Thai becoming a mainstream sport. I would like to be able to say Muay Thai and not have to explain what it is. Just like when you say Taekwondo in a conversation, everybody knows what Taekwondo is. Everybody's known. My little Timmy, my little Timmy went to Taekwondo. Everybody's done Taekwondo at least once. That's my goal for Muay Thai. I want it to be like, oh yeah, my little Johnny, he does Muay Thai, at his after school program. I want it to be that mainstream, that it's just a well-known sport, and I feel like, with the tournaments, with all these competitions and stuff, people are starting to move in that direction where they're seeing the value in Muay Thai, its effectiveness, and it's entertainment value too. And so people are, starting to become fans. And it's slowly getting there, I think, not just with my tournament, but like just in general across the country.
Getting into more the technical details of the tournament, being part of the team, whether it's on the national level or on the world level, how are the classes ranked? What are the differences between A class and B class, and where do professional fighters fit in within all of this?
As far as the IFMA?
Yes.
So it's right now for the women, there's only one class, just because there's not enough female athletes to create an A and a B. So for females, if you fight in the world championships, you have to fight in A no matter what, whether you're an amateur or pro, which is unfortunate, I think. But I think it's going to get better over time. I see a lot of female athletes competing more. I always see like a couple female fights every show, which is nice. I will remember watching shows where it was rare that you see one female athlete compete, a female fight. And so that's something that's an issue on its own, on a gender issue. But as far as like a C class is more of like a novice athlete. B class so from a standard, A class is technically a pro, right? B class would be an amateur, so, and then there's really, I've never seen a C class competition as far as like the IFMA World Championships, more of like a novice, an up and coming athlete.
So how does a professional become a part of the team, since the US tournaments don't include professional fighters?
As of right now, unfortunately, if you're interested, the way to do it is to contact the USMF, or tell your coach to contact the USMF and, let them know that you're interested, so we can devise a list. Right now, I believe they're looking for a 112-pound athlete for the current US team, pro, in A class. I don't know if you guys know anybody, but I know for
112. Sure. Oh, shit. Can't get down that low, unfortunately.
It's kind of tough, but they're looking. But we're right now, I think that they're in talks right now to discuss. We're looking for A and B athletes, male. And obviously the female athletes are just A. So you're going to be kind of mixed with A and B in one division.
I'm speaking right now with actually Jason Farrell just asked me if I can make the 178 to be on the A team.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're in talks now. So like I would contact the USMF. You can go on their Facebook page and probably send some messages that way, or have your coach message them direct. That's what I always suggest, is not for you to do it, but have your coach do it. Talk to your coach first before you're doing anything. It's not usually a good idea to go over his head or her head. But have your coach contact the USMF if they think you're ready. And we do need A class and B class athletes right now, male and female. I think majority of the slots are full, but put your name in the hat if you're an A class. B class, I think it's tournament based. So last year's or this year's TBA champions will be I believe the team that's going to Cancun. But moving forward, the team will be decided by a ranking system that you'd have to compete in USMF tournaments. That's how it would go about. Pros need to just contact their coach and have them talk to the USMF.
I'll see you out there.
When is the next tournament anyway? The next IFMAs, and how they're run once a year?
Yeah, Cancun. It's shoot, I don't have the exact date. I can look that up. When is the next US? I know it's in Cancun. I know it's coming up next year.
While you're looking at it, where can people head to? Maybe Sean can put it up on the screen. If they want to register their gym, what does that do for them? What link can they head to? What website can they head to register their gym and be in the database? I see that for some time being it was free, and now there might be a fee. So why don't you just explain that for people to be able to head over and support the USMF?
Yeah, so if you go to United States Muay Thai .org, and you can register your gym. With that, you have the ability. First of all, you'll be listed with you'll be listed in the database for the national database of all clubs. You'll also be able to register all your athletes under your club name, and that probably will rank your club up once they start competing and acquiring points. By the way, the World Championships is going to be May 10th through the 19th in Cancun, just so you guys know. You'll also be able to have your own website. You can create a website through the R Sports platform once you get the registration, once you register your club. And with that, you can actually host events, which is pretty amazing. If you can actually host events with the software. You'll have access to this live scoring, and you could host YDL events, and raise money for USMF. And you can also raise money for your club, if you ever have any kind of fundraising and things like that, and produce more athletes, get kids more excited. So there's more benefits that we're kind of working on listing out as these next couple months unfold. We're going to be listing out different benefits, but those are the major ones. You have your own website, you have access to the R Sports platform, and you will be listed in the national database of clubs.
Beautiful. All right, so we're going to slowly close up here and get to the Q&A section. So for anyone that is listening, anyone that is live right now, just prepare your questions and we'll go into the live section. If we don't have too many pouring in, then we'll just continue with our own selfish ones. But until then, just wanted to know, what can we do? What can the entire Muay Thai community do to drive the sport forward, to make this happen sooner rather than later? And being able to see all of this, I'm just proud to be a part of the sport right now. So what can we all do to move the sport forward?
I mean, the first step would be, in my opinion, to register yourself as an athlete, as a coach, as a club. Put yourself on that database, because that is what the IOC is looking at right now. They're looking at how many athletes there are. They want to see gender inclusion. They want to see male and female athletes. They want to see athletes competing regularly. They want to see that it's a viable sport internationally. So if you really want to do that, register yourself. It's real. Skip your Starbucks, man. You pay $20. And, and so for the year, it's not for the month, for the year. And you're helping out a ton of people. You're helping out the U.S. team, you're helping out the USMF, and you're helping out IFMA move towards Olympic recognition.
Boom.
So, that's real easy.
There you go. Well, thanks for being so precise and specific with everything. I think that ended up making no one ask any questions because you were so deliberate with everything you were saying. So yeah, thanks a lot for filling us in. I mean, I felt like I learned a lot. I'm always learning a lot whenever I'm talking with people like you who are at the top, like you're behind the scenes, you know everything that's going on. So it's always cool to get some more insight to see what's going on, especially with the US Muay Thai. So yeah, just wrapping up here. Do you have any other things that you want to say before getting going? Any shout outs, any friends, family, or partners before we go?
I'm not good at these things because
putting you on the spot, bro.
I always like, oh, why did you give me a shout out? I want probably shout out to Brandon and Ryan. My partners, my business partners. To be honest, they've been holding down the fort. I've been going through some stuff on other businesses, other ventures, and so I had a little bit of struggle this last USMTO. So they've been kind of take the reins for the USMTO East, and they did a really amazing job. I'm very proud of them. Very proud of having them as partners. Shout out to Chase for turning this whole thing around. In my opinion, I really do believe if it wasn't for him, we would not be here right now. His leadership has brought pretty much the entire community together. So I'm very honored to be part of the USMF right now. And under him as our leader. So I think he's an amazing leader. And I think everybody should get behind him. He has a pretty level head about things, and I think we're gonna go very far with him as a leadership. So shout out to all of those guys and everybody that's training pretty hard and competing and keep it going. And don't forget to register.
Boom. And that's it for the episode. I want to thank all of you guys for listening. For those that are live, we're going to go into the Q&A. And for those that are listening on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and all those things, should have been here. So be here next week on either Sunday or Monday. So make sure you're just staying in tune with what the Muay Thai guy is doing, Muay Thai guy email list. Stay in tune with whatever Muay Thai athlete is doing. Make sure you're on my email list. I have a free course coming out in the next week or so. So definitely take a look out for that. I put a lot of hours into it. So come and grab your own free course. Anything else you want to throw out there, Sean?
No, all good, man. So thanks again, Thiago, for coming on and taking the time. Like I said, I know you just finished traveling, and congrats to Travis on his KO victory as well. And yeah, just keep doing your thing. And thanks for all you do for the Muay Thai community.
And we're out.
Peace.